Okay, everybody. Oh my God. I did not click go live. I thought I was live. Um, so whoops. Oh. Okay. So in essence, what we're doing here is let me just tap into Bob and what we've created so far. So today, what we're doing is creating skills, rules, and modes. And before we get into that, just because I thought I was streaming and I was not streaming, um, is that we are creating with Bob. Bob is an agentic development tool that helps us across the software development lifecycle. So it helps us plan and analyze, it helps us design, develop, test, deploy, and maintain our code. And this is extremely effective because planning and analyzing is essential, especially when it's in accordance to strong architectural practices and principles, designing architectural blueprints, and using that guidance with Bob to create and innovate and design new applications that can change the future of our company, then the actual development. So putting your vision into practice, essential, then testing. And that's so key, right? If you can philosophically or plainly, clearly articulate the application that you're creating, you can design wonderful things and put your vision into real code without having to know the code itself. Of course, it helps to understand the architectural best practices, the principles, and to be able to guide the AI to perform even better. Um, and again, I think having the principles and the vision and the imagination is going to be such a key skill in this creative age of AI. And then we do some testing to make sure our application works and that we solve for any edge cases. We deploy and then we maintain our code. So these are all very essential aspects that we need to take care of. And I'm just going to check in to see that we are streaming and verify that we are indeed streaming. We are. Okay. And so, in essence, what we are going to do here, or what we have been doing, because I thought I was streaming, is we are going to go over three concepts. So, skills, rules, and modes, as you can see here. A skill is, in essence, something that Bob will use to execute a step-by-step methodology, something that you define. It's like my skill of writing. Well, I know that good writing is short, punchy, uses descriptive verbs, is clear, is simple, and communicates the information in such a way that it is a story. That's just one example of what a skill is and how I define it. Now, there might be a skill that a particular developer likes to use in order to design user interfaces very effectively. So I could create a skill that allows me to design new user interfaces. And so I asked Bob to create a mode here for agent development, and it's called Agent Creator. And so here's what it does. It defines a persona that thinks exclusively in the brain plus tools and model and embeds a two-component framework. In this case, it means that every single agent has the LLM as its brain and tools as functions. So that's always the reasoning lens, and it has explicit tool design rules with verb noun naming conventions, single responsibility, rich descriptions as routing signals, JSON schema parameters, agent patterns built in React, chain of thought, and multi-agent splits, and hard rules. So it has wonderful things that help us create an agent very easily. So that's what a mode is. It is a point of consciousness that is aware of particular information and allows us to design and create different artifacts within that mode. So there might be a great writer mode, there might be an agent creator mode, there might be a security vulnerabilities discovery mode, there might be SAP ABAP creation mode. There are so many modes we can define and give to these agents, and we can actually tell Bob to design them for us. And if I look here and I check out my Bob settings, if I can find them, if I can remember where they are in this instance. So here we are, settings. And let's just dive in here really quickly and go into modes and check out some of the modes that are in the marketplace. There are Ask Z Assistant, Jira Ticket Manager, Python Unit Test Mode, Agent Builder, MCP Builder, Evolve Lite, GraphQL Dev, Fast API Coder, Code Teacher, Code Reviewer, CIO Developer, Karma, Figma to React. So there's so many different modes that we can use and implement in our workflows to make everything a lot easier. So what we've done here is we created a markdown of a sample company, right? And this sample company is, and if I just go back here to the previous task that I was implementing, is that this company, this mini file system contains information about what the company does, and that is a company which is a built environment made from living systems, and it aims to have materials specified in the majority of the new world's sustainable economy, and that it has eliminated materials that are bad for the planet. So it has core values, the business model, target markets, geographic presence. It has a glossary, it has personas, products, the style guide, the tech stack, and everything Bob would need to know in order to develop things in accordance with what this company does. And I think that's extremely effective because when Bob has the soul of the company in mind, it can develop more aligned and effective code that is actually going to capture the full persona of the company in mind. It can help developers even align to branding, even as they create new user interfaces or whatever it is that they're creating. So if we just go into here, I want to create a mode, another mode. Let's create a brilliant user interface mode that captures the heart of the company. Please do research online to find UX best practices for a React web app. Okay, so let's have Bob do that. And while Bob does that, I want to, so look, there it is. So it's reading the file of the company tech stack so that it understands what's going on. And it's using a skill called create mode. And I think this is the perfect segue into what skills are. And look, it's kicking off and it's researching and summarizing the top UX and React development best practices. So Bob can do that, research the internet. So let's give it a new task in parallel while this one operates. And let's, in essence, create, let's create a skill. I want to create a new skill that will help me detect vulnerabilities in my code. I would like to do it according to the world's best security practices. Ensure that this is excellent. Okay, so I'm going to kick that off. And again, I mean, I think this is the best way to create skills. If we go into this Bob config file, Bob is always going to read from the information that's in here. So it can be very effective for Bob to know the essential knowledge about the company. And so now it's looking at the tech stack. It is looking at the existing skills. And now it's going to create a well-targeted vulnerability detection skill tailored to Terava's stack. Now, I will say, I think it would be extremely valuable for you to, for example, interview a security expert at your organization and ask them, hey, what's your methodology for detecting vulnerabilities in code? And maybe record that conversation, transcribe it, and then ask Bob, hey, Bob, here's a conversation I transcribed, convert that into skills. And I think that can be very effective. And the more developed teams get and the more they know about how they operate and what optimizations they want to create, the more knowledge that can be captured from those best practices, the more high quality your code is going to be, always. Because it takes that human judgment, it takes that level of expertise to put the final cherry on top to make extraordinary code. Because these tools are not always going to be perfect, but they can certainly help you get so much faster at documenting, at writing, at accelerating. But if you have the architectural mindset, if you have that knowledge, if you have that experience, things are going to accelerate. So here's a skill. So here's a security audit skill we just created. So it's wonderful. And the amazing thing about Bob is that it's picking the right model for me, and it's saving me, like, it's an extremely economical tool because it only takes, I don't know, it's 10 times cheaper usually than some of the frontier tools, because we're allowing Bob to select the right model for the right task. And as you can see, it's performing really well. So here's the skill we designed: manual code review, broken access control, cryptographic failures, Terraform-specific security check. So it's doing all of that, and it can detect code for me. So I'm going to say, please write a very simple React app of the company's mission statement and vision, a landing page, just so we have some code to write here. Okay, so it's looking at our skills just to understand more. So it realizes that it doesn't. So I'm going to say, look at the Bob config for everything under company. And I'm going to confuse it because usually you wouldn't put the company context in the Bob config. So that's not something I would usually do. I would put it somewhere else. Okay, perfect. It's read the files in there. Yep, it's reading all the files, and now it's building the landing page. Just had to give it a little bit of steering. And so as it does that, so we've already built a mode. We've already built a skill. Now I want to build a rule. So let's build a Bob rule to always update my documentation after every code change I make. Okay, perfect. So there's no rules directory. And now we are creating a rule that will get triggered every time Bob is developing. And a very simple rule is this. It is literally to update documentation after every code change I make, so that everybody can be very clear. So identify, locate, update, add, and remove stale docs. So that's just one example of a rule that you could design. You could also design rules to not use a particular class type or data structure in a code base, just to ensure that it's all aligned. So perfect. Bob has now created a rule: update docs after code change. So perfect. All right. So now let's take a look at our skills that are our other tasks. Okay, there's some approval that I have to make here. Now it is installing and verifying the build. So here we go. Just want to check the stream 1 second. Okay. Cool. Stream is working. Okay. Writing some builds here, writing some code. We wrote some React code. Build passes clean. So let's ensure that it's running well. Okay, Perfect. It's giving us a preview. It's giving us all the files in our landing page. And let's run it locally. So let's open our terminal. Okay, so cd into landing page, and let's run dev. Oh, we're already in landing page. Okay, perfect. All right, so here's our landing page. We need some color fixing here, but looks good so far. And I'm gonna say, did you document according to your rules? Because I don't think it's picked up the rule because we did it in mid-stride. So let's just ensure that that's happening. So here's the gap. Okay, perfect. So he's fixing both now, or she. Bob does not have a gender to my knowledge. So, so here we go. I'm fixing both now. Building a README file for the landing page project. And I think this has been a wonderful project so far. So while Bob finishes that up, I want to recap. So we created some skills that will do things step by step in a particular methodology, and we could enhance those skills by interviewing the experts at our companies and converting those into skill files. We looked at modes. We created an agent creator mode that helps us design agents in a way that is much faster. And finally, because we gave it knowledge and context and awareness of what it means to design an agent. And then finally, what we did was we created a rule to update documentation after code changes, and we designed a little React app just so you could see the power of this. And we did that effectively selecting the right LLM in the right instance. And so now we've created our README file with a project structure and yeah, perfect. So this is Bob. I'm going to be streaming again tomorrow, so I hope to see you there, and see you on the next one. So let's end our stream.